There are moments when the world around you finally becomes still. The day has ended. The noise of voices fades. Lights grow soft. Even the streets seem to rest. You lie in bed or sit alone in a quiet room, expecting your mind to follow the same rhythm. But it doesn't. Thoughts begin to move the moment silence arrives. A memory from years ago appears without warning. A sentence someone once said returns as if it was spoken today. Plans for tomorrow form themselves before you ask for them. Worries step in quietly, like guests who do not knock. Sometimes the thoughts are gentle. They remind you of laughter of old places, of faces you once loved. And sometimes they are heavy. They carry regret, fear, guilt, and questions you do not know how to answer. You try to push them away. You turn to the other side. You close your eyes tighter. You tell yourself, be quiet. But the mind does not obey commands. Have you ever noticed how the quieter the world becomes, the louder the inside of you feels? Why is it that silence outside often awakens noise within? Why does the heart refuse to rest even when the body is tired? Many people you see during the day look successful. They have jobs, families, respect, and comfort. They smile. They speak confidently. They seem settled. But at night, when no one is watching, many of them whisper the same words. I can't sleep. My mind won't stop. My heart feels uneasy. They have gained much in the world, yet inside, something feels missing. There is movement but no peace. There is thinking but no rest. And then there are others. People who own very little. Their lives look simple, even difficult. Yet when you sit near them, you feel something different. They speak slowly. They listen deeply. Their eyes do not rush. Their presence feels anchored, as if something inside them is not shaking. You leave their company feeling lighter, even though they gave you no advice and solved none of your problems. So where does this difference come from? Why does one heart feel crowded while another feels spacious? Why does one mind drown in its own noise while another seems carried by quiet? The answer is not found in money, success, or comfort. It is not found in silence alone. Because you already know that silence outside does not guarantee silence within. There are nights when everything around you is calm, yet your thoughts run like a restless river. And there are moments, even in noise, when something inside you feels strangely still. So the problem is not the world, and it is not even the mind itself. The real question is not, why do thoughts come? Because thoughts will always come. The real question is, why does the heart not know where to rest? What if the restless mind is not a mistake? What if it is not a failure? What if it is a message? Ibn Arabi teaches that nothing in your inner life is random. Not your longing, not your confusion, not even your mental noise. When the mind grows loud, it is often because the heart is searching for its center. It is searching for something it has lost sight of. It is asking, quietly, without words, to be guided back. So perhaps your restless thoughts are not your enemy. Perhaps they are signs. Signs that something inside you is calling for direction. Signs that your heart is asking where it truly belongs. Signs that the silence you are looking for is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something deeper. And that brings us to the question we must face next. If the mind cannot be forced into silence, then what does it really mean to silence the mind? If your mind feels restless, it does not mean something is wrong with you. It does not mean you are weak, broken, or failing. It means you are human. Ibn Arabi teaches that nothing within the human being is created without purpose. Not hunger, not longing, not fear, and not even restlessness. The mind was not made to be empty. It was made to move, to observe, to compare, to remember, to imagine, to question. If the mind were always silent, a person would never reflect. They would never look at their own mistakes. They would never feel the need to return. They would never ask, is this the right path? So movement in the mind is not a flaw. It is part of the design. But Ibn Arabi makes a careful distinction. There is a difference between a mind that moves with purpose and a mind that moves without direction. A river that flows toward the sea gives life. A river that overflows its banks becomes destruction. In the same way, thoughts that move toward meaning, remembrance, and truth soften the heart. But thoughts that move without direction exhaust the soul. This is why Ibn Arabi says the human being lives between two forces: attention and distraction. Whatever you give your attention to slowly becomes your inner world. If your attention is always on fear, your inner world becomes fear. If your attention is always on loss, your inner world becomes loss. If your attention is always on Allah, your inner world begins to change. So the problem is not that the mind thinks. The problem is when the heart forgets where it is facing. The Quran does not condemn thinking. It invites it. Again and again, Allah asks, do they not reflect? Do they not think? Do they not consider? Thinking itself is not the enemy. Losing direction is. Many people try to silence the mind by force. They say, stop thinking. Clear your head. Empty your mind. But trying to trap thoughts is like trying to trap the wind. You close your hands and it slips through. You tighten your grip and it escapes even faster. Ibn Arabi teaches that mastery is not suppression. It is direction. You do not kill the river. You guide it. You do not curse the wind. You turn your sails. In the same way, you do not destroy thought. You turn it. When your thoughts are guided toward remembrance, gratitude, reflection, and sincerity, they become gentle. They become useful. They become light. But when they are allowed to wander endlessly into fear, desire, resentment, and pride, they become heavy. They become noisy. They become a burden. So when you say, my mind is too loud, what you are often really saying is, my heart does not know where to look. The heart is like an eye. Whatever it looks at repeatedly becomes its world. If it looks only at what is missing, it becomes hungry. If it looks only at what is feared, it becomes anxious. If it looks only at what is desired, it becomes restless. But if it looks toward Allah, it begins to remember why it exists. This is why Ibn Arabi says that restlessness is not random. It is a signal, a sign that the heart is facing too many directions at once. When you stand at a crossroads and look everywhere, you feel dizzy. But when you choose one path and walk, your vision becomes steady. So the mind becomes noisy. When the heart is scattered, and the mind becomes gentle, when the heart becomes gathered. This leads us to an important question. If thoughts themselves are not evil, and if restlessness is a signal, then where do these thoughts come from? And why do they feel so different from one another? Some lift you, some drain you, some simply pass through like clouds. To understand how to guide the mind, you must first understand the nature of what moves through it. Not every thought that enters your mind is the same. Some arrive softly like a breeze. Some arrive heavily like a weight. And some pass through so quickly that you hardly notice them. This is because thoughts come from different places. Some thoughts rise from your natural needs. Your body needs food, safety, rest, and care. So your mind thinks about work, money, shelter, sleep, and protection. These thoughts are not sinful. They are part of being alive. If you are hungry, your mind thinks of food. If you are tired, your mind thinks of rest. If you are responsible for others, your mind thinks of provision. These thoughts only become harmful when they grow so strong that they make you forget what truly matters. Other thoughts rise from memory, from things you saw, heard, touched, loved, or lost. A smell reminds you of someone. A sound brings back an old day. A face you pass in the street awakens a forgotten feeling. These thoughts are like echoes. They do not come to harm you. They come because your heart has stored what once mattered. Then there are thoughts that arrive as whispers. They do not announce themselves. They do not feel like memory or need. They slip in quietly and change the direction of your heart. Some whispers invite you to goodness. Pray now. Forgive them. Give what you can. Return to Allah. These are gentle calls of mercy. They bring light when you follow them. But other whispers disturb your peace. They plant doubt, pride, jealousy, desire, or despair. They push you to speak when silence would protect you. They pull you toward what weakens you. The Quran teaches that not all whispers come from one place. Some come from Shaitan. Some come from people. And some come from the nafs, the lower self that always leans toward comfort, ease, and excess. So when a thought comes, the first wisdom is not to panic, and not to accept it immediately either. The heart is like a doorway. Not every visitor deserves to enter. But here is something deeply comforting. Thoughts themselves are not sins. The Prophet _FDFA taught that Allah does not hold a servant accountable for what passes through the heart, as long as it is not spoken or acted upon. This means that a harmful thought rejected can become a good deed, and a good thought followed can raise a person's rank. So the test is not whether a thought appears. The test is whether you invite it to stay. Some thoughts are like clouds. They pass and disappear. If you leave them alone, they fade. But some thoughts become storms because they are fed with attention. The more you argue with a dark thought, the more space it takes. The more you repeat a fearful thought, the stronger it becomes. This is why wisdom is not found in trying to empty the mind, but in learning how to choose what deserves your attention. Your mind will always move, but your heart decides the direction. When you give attention to what pulls you upward, your inner world becomes lighter. When you give attention to what pulls you downward, your inner world becomes heavy. So your thoughts are not your enemy. They are messengers. They arrive to show you where your heart is facing. If your thoughts are full of fear, your heart is facing what it fears. If your thoughts are full of desire, your heart is facing what it desires. If your thoughts are full of remembrance, your heart is facing Allah. But this brings a deeper question. Are all thoughts equal in value? Should every thought be trusted? Or do they carry different origins and consequences? To silence the mind, you must first learn to recognize what kind of voice is speaking inside you. There was a moment in the early days of Islam when some of the companions came to the Prophet _FDFA with heavy hearts. They said, "O Messenger of Allah, sometimes thoughts come into our hearts that we would rather be buried in the earth than speak them aloud." These were not evil people. They were sincere believers. Yet they were afraid of their own minds. The Prophet _FDFA looked at them and asked, "Do you truly experience these thoughts?" When they said yes, he replied, "That is a sign of faith." This answer is gentle but powerful. It tells us something important. The presence of disturbing thoughts is not proof of weak faith. Having those thoughts, refusing them, and feeling pain because of them is proof that faith is alive. If your heart did not care, you would not be disturbed. If belief was dead, nothing inside you would protest. So when you feel upset by a harmful thought, do not say, "I am ruined." Say, "My heart is still alive." In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ taught that Allah has forgiven this ummah for what passes through the heart, as long as it is not spoken and not acted upon. This removes a heavy burden. It means accountability begins at choice, not at intrusion. You are not judged for what knocks. You are judged for what you invite inside. But the Prophet ﷺ did not only comfort, he also taught how to respond. He said that when Shaitan whispers questions that spiral into confusion, even questions meant to shake belief itself, the believer should say, "I seek refuge in Allah," and then leave the thought. Do not argue with it. Do not chase it. Do not analyze it endlessly. Leave it, because Shaitan does not overpower the servant by strength. He overpowers by attention. A thought that is ignored loses its life. A thought that is fit becomes dominant. This is why Ibn Arabi explains that the battle of the heart is not about force. It is about focus. What you focus on grows. What you turn away from weakens. The Prophet ﷺ also taught that Shaitan withdraws when Allah is remembered and approaches again when Allah is forgotten. This means remembrance is not only worship, it is protection. The more remembrance fills the heart, the quieter the inner chaos becomes. The Prophet ﷺ also spoke of the sweetness of faith. He said that true inner taste appears when Allah and His Messenger are more beloved than anything else, when returning to disbelief feels more unbearable than being thrown into fire. This does not mean that bad thoughts disappear forever. It means that when they pass by, the heart no longer accepts them. From all of this, we learn an essential truth. Thoughts are part of human nature. The real test is how you respond. Allah does not judge you for what appears in the mind. He judges you for what you choose to embrace. So if a dark thought comes and you reject it, you are not losing. You are winning. If a good thought comes and you act upon it, you are rising. This is the mercy of being human. You are not asked to be perfect. You are asked to be aware. But not all thoughts are the same. Some bring light. Some are neutral. Some pull toward darkness. Understanding these differences is part of wisdom. And that is what we must look at next. If you listen carefully to what moves inside you, you will begin to notice that thoughts do not all carry the same weight. Some arrive like light. They bring you closer to what is good. They whisper gently, "Pray now, forgive, give, return." When you follow these thoughts, something inside you becomes softer. You feel lighter, even if life around you is still heavy. These are invitations of mercy. They do not shout. They call quietly. There are also thoughts that are simply part of living. You think of work, food, family, responsibility, rest. These thoughts are neither holy nor sinful by themselves. They become good when they help you live rightly. They become harmful when they grow so large that they make you forget Allah. Then there are thoughts that disturb your heart. They distract you in prayer. They pull you toward what weakens your dignity. They push you to speak when silence would protect you. They invite pride, envy, anger, and desire. These are not random. They come to test your direction. There are also thoughts that speak the language of despair. You are beyond forgiveness. It is too late for you. You will never change. These thoughts directly oppose the Quran, which commands believers never to despair of Allah's mercy. And then there are thoughts born from desire. Desire itself is not evil. When guided, it builds life, family, work, beauty, growth. When uncontrolled, it destroys balance and blinds the heart. So wisdom is not in killing thought. Wisdom is in recognizing it. The believer's task is not to empty the mind, but to learn which thoughts deserve to be followed and which must be left behind. A thought that leads you closer to Allah is worth your attention. A thought that pulls you away is not. The Prophet FDFA taught that even intending a good deed earns reward even if it is not completed. This means a righteous thought itself carries light. So when a good thought comes, do not delay it too long, because delayed goodness often fades. But when a harmful thought comes, do not panic. Do not fight it with anger. Turn away from it and return to what brings light. So now the question becomes clear. If thoughts are unavoidable, and if they differ in origin and effect, then how does a believer actually quiet the mind and return to peace? That secret lies not in silence alone, but in remembrance. The mind does not become quiet by force. It becomes quiet by presence. The Quran does not say, "Stop thinking and you will find peace." It says, unquestionably, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. This tells you something important. Peace is not found by chasing silence. It is found by turning toward Allah. The first and strongest medicine is remembrance. Dhikr. When you say, Subhan Allah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, you are not repeating empty sounds. These are lights. They clear the air inside you. They weaken whispers that try to dominate your heart. Ibn Arabi points to this often. The heart is not healed by fighting the storm directly. It is healed by turning toward the source. When the heart faces Allah, the storm loses its center. The second medicine is the Quran. The Quran is not only a book to read. It is medicine for the heart. Allah says that He sends in the Quran what is healing and mercy for the believers. When you recite it, something quietly settles inside you. The mind's noise lowers, and a different awareness enters. Not the awareness of the world, but the awareness of being held. The third medicine is prayer with presence. Khushu. Salah is not only movement. It is the act of placing your heart before Allah. Yes, many people stand in prayer, and their thoughts run everywhere. Money, worries, old arguments, future fears. But if a person gently trains the heart to return to Allah within the prayer, that same salah becomes a wall against chaos. It does not only count as worship, it cleans the inner space. The fourth medicine is repentance and returning. Istighfar and tawbah. When sins pile up, the heart becomes heavier, and thoughts become darker. But the moment a person sincerely says, Astaghfirullah, and turns back, the heart becomes lighter. Ibn Arabi describes tawbah not only as regret, but as returning the heart to its true direction. And when the heart returns, the mind follows. The fifth medicine is dua. The Prophet FDFA taught dua as a living shelter, especially when the heart feels unstable. When the mind becomes a battlefield, dua reconnects you to the one who owns the battlefield. Ask Allah for steadiness. Ask Allah for protection from whispers. Ask Allah to make your heart firm. Dua pulls you near. And when you are near, Shaitan loses strength. The sixth medicine is remembrance in solitude. When you are alone, thoughts often become louder. But that same solitude can become your secret garden. The Prophet _FDFA described a person who remembers Allah alone, and tears fall from their eyes. That person is honored under Allah's shade, on the day when there is no shade except His. This is not because tears are magical. It is because sincerity is powerful in solitude. You cannot perform for people there. So if you turn to Allah there, it is real. The seventh medicine is turning good thoughts into action. Sometimes a pure thought comes. Help someone. Visit the sick. Apologize. Give charity. Pray 2 rak'ah. But we delay, and the heart becomes heavy again. When you act on the good thought, it becomes light. It cleans the mind. It makes the heart feel aligned. This is why in Islamic spirituality, righteousness is not only inner feeling. It is inner feeling that becomes movement. So yes, thoughts cannot be erased, but they can be guided. They can be trained. They can be transformed. When you turn toward Allah, the mind does not become empty like a dead space. It becomes quiet like a living garden. The noise does not disappear by force. It softens by presence. Silence does not mean that no thought ever passes through your mind. If that were the meaning of peace, no human being could ever reach it. Peace is not the absence of thought. Peace is having a heart that knows where to return. When your mind becomes loud, do not rush to say, something is wrong with me. Often it simply means your heart is searching for its center. And the Quran names that center clearly. The remembrance of Allah. If your thoughts scatter, it is not always a sign of weakness. Sometimes it is a sign of longing. A longing for meaning. A longing for direction. A longing to be gathered again. Ibn Arabi teaches that the heart becomes what it repeatedly faces. If it faces the world alone, it becomes scattered. If it faces desire alone, it becomes restless. If it faces fear alone, it becomes anxious. But if it faces Allah, it becomes gathered. And a gathered heart carries a gathered life. So do not measure your peace by how quiet your mind feels in one moment. Measure it by how easily your heart returns. When a thought pulls you away, return without anger. Return without shame. Return with refuge. Ask yourself one simple question. Is this thought taking me closer to Allah or further away? Feed what brings light. Leave what pulls into darkness. Begin your day with remembrance, even if it is small. End your day with remembrance, even if it is quiet. When thoughts rush in, do not fight them like enemies. Let them pass like clouds, while your heart faces the sun, because clouds only darken the sky. When you mistake them for the sky, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses where the heart will face. If your mind feels loud, it does not mean you are broken. Often it means your heart is still searching for its home, and Allah has named that home clearly. In the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest? So make remembrance your direction, not only in words, but in attention. Turn your face inward and your heart upward. Let your life become a quiet answer to the noise inside you. And remember what Ibn Arabi teaches. The heart becomes what it repeatedly faces. Face what gives you life. Before you leave, take a moment and ask yourself, have you ever noticed a time when your mind was loud, but your heart was quietly searching for something deeper? If this reflection spoke to you, leave a like so more hearts can find it. Subscribe to Voice of Sufism and turn on the bell so you don't miss future journeys of wisdom and meaning. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may become a light for someone else. And if you wish to continue this path, you'll see more reflections appearing on your screen now. Let your journey of awareness continue.